A one, a two, a you know what to do. Did y'all watch that movie yesterday? No? Or just
No.
making.
See?
Hey, Booze, we're back. It's Tanisha and Candace and Rod, your besties in your mind. So we are jumping in and talking about the magical, adventurous, turbulent, rocky but beautiful year of 2020. And
Yes.
we're going to dive right in. So, ladies, everybody has a plan when the new year starts. I certainly had a plan for 2020. So,
Yes.
what did you hope or what did you plan to experience or do this year? What was your initial aspiration and vision for 2020?
Ooh. Why does it seem like that was so long ago to have to recall it? It's like, what
Because
was
this year had 10 years in it.
Exactly.
Just boop,
facts?
right there.
Um, I know at the beginning of the year, my plan, um, I was on a pretty smooth trajectory acting wise. I was, a lead in a play that was doing really well, had a nice red carpet, met some
Mm-hmm.
celebs that was pretty dope.
Yeah.
Um, got some acclaim from that, made some good connections. And then I got a recurring role on Station 19. And so I was like,
Yeah.
yo, this is it. This is the turning point. We about to capitalize on this momentum. And bam, all my dreams. Give me your lunch.
Oh, I took your lunch.
Took my lunch.
And lunch
Took your lunch money.
That's pretty much where that went. So
Oh my gosh.
Dang.
Yeah.
Disrespectful.
disrespectful. Ooh.
What about you,
So,
Candace?
Yeah, man, this year came in like a wrecking ball.
mm,
Seriously, because I was still doing Pick Four in chat. I was thinking about what the year was going to look like for that because I hadn't done the last couple months because holidays and so I was getting excited about that and topics and my website and all these things and trying to speak more and do more videos, like just a whole traveling with my family, going to Disney World again, going to take my kids to visit their great grandfather, like all this stuff that they hadn't seen before. Like Ranisha said, like the world exploded.
Much.
And it just I it was like dizzying.
mm.
You know what I mean? Like,
Good word.
my equilibrium was like all the profanity. You know what I'm saying?
All the words that
head,
exist
like,
and have never existed
what?
and have yet to exist and ever
Yes.
existed before.
And like fusions of words that you just created to try to figure out what was happening in life right now.
Exactly.
But man, it whoo, child. Talking about stripping away all your crutches. 2020, like just was like
Just like, give me.
okay, oh, I got issues.
Right. It's like, oh, you thought you was getting by?
Yeah.
I know all of your names. I know where everybody lives. It was just
Exactly. Let's talk about this stuff right quick.
all on your front door.
Jesus.
I was gonna say.
Yeah, just all out. I'm like, all right, 2020. I told Ranisha earlier, I felt like 2020 came in like, I think it's Jack Nicholson on Nicholas on the Shining, when he like cracks the door open with that like accent. He's like, here's Johnny.
He's just like, no, go back exactly where you came from.
Right. I told Candace my comparison was Dave Chappelle's Rick James. It was like, F your couch. I'm Rick James. Just
Hear about none of this.
nah, nope.
Ooh.
Charlie Murphy, like all of it.
Charlie
just-
Murphy, completely Charlie Murphy.
I asked y'all the question, but even now, I don't even remember.
I was gonna say, Nina, what's your answer?
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
I feel like I just had to adapt so quickly
Mhm.
that I had to like
Mhm.
I don't even remember what I let go of, to be honest. I feel like it was like survival mode, like
Yeah.
just get through. I mean, when I first heard about it, you know, my spouse is he has a travel media company, so he's in the travel space. And so we had a conversation about COVID like in January,
Okay.
and he had been following and tracking. He's like, babe, I promise you, this is going to shut down the travel industry. And once the travel industry is shut down, the world is going to shut down. And I was like, I agree, because, you know, I studied econ and global international affairs and international development. I was like, yes, I agree with you. But he was so much more like in the trenches of studying every single thing that was happening. I was like, hear no evil, see no evil. Like I knew it was coming. I was like, I don't, you know, when I looked it up, I was like, okay, this sounds so morbid, but I was like, when things like this happen, you expect 20% of a population to die, right? So I was like trying to prepare myself for like, I was like, oh, we're not leaving our houses to August. Like that was where I was at. Just from like health disparities background. I was worried about like people of color. I'm like, oh, it's gonna wreak havoc. Like we already, America struggles with our healthcare system, period. But yeah, I was like getting momentum in my business at the beginning of the year. I was like getting new clients. I was like, yes, I'm about to get like multi-year deals with people. And then COVID came and people were like, budgets. We about to furlough a bunch of people. And I was just like, so you gonna hold off on signing your contract and paying your deposit, or we're gonna go ahead and do it? We pick it up later. But I still gotta work.
I'm flexible. I'm flexible.
Oh, I'm flexible.
You gotta pay your deposit. You still got a spot on my book. You know, I was just trying to work that out. So yeah, I had plans to like, definitely like you, Candace, I wanted to do more speaking. I had planned to do more traveling. We were supposed to take our mothers to Greece. We were gonna go, we had like, let me see, Chubby Diaries had like 9 trips on the calendar, international trips. Like we were supposed to
because I was following it.
We were gonna live in Bali for like 3 months.
Wow.
And then maybe Indonesia or then Thailand maybe. So we were just, you know, we had plans for the year. Nope. I don't even want to go to Round Rock sometimes. You know, I'm good. I'm just go to this Target around the corner and come on back home. It's just, but it has still been a cool year in the sense of I've done things I didn't think I would be able to do. But I also, it's like a motion of a feeling of like we talked about last time, like I'm trying to be grateful because I know there are people who had a much more traumatic, life-shattering 2020 than I did. But I'm also getting better. I think this is going to be my next question for y'all, which was going to be like, what did you lose, find, release, or gain in 2020? And I think for myself, I came to a realization now that it's December, hindsight, that I tend to like minimize my wins and like things that suck. Like, because I get into like comparing. I blame that on my degree, comparative studies and international things. I'm like, oh, you know, developing countries, poverty is a lot worse. But poverty is still traumatic, like no matter where you experience it in the world.
Yeah.
And so like from college understanding to like trauma-informed care. And like, I'm like, no, poverty is traumatic, no matter what part of the world you're in. So I think this year I'm kind of like, you know, that actually was detrimental to me in some, like in a way that I can acknowledge. And it doesn't mean that I'm saying anything negative about, I'm not trying to make myself bigger than someone else, or I'm not trying to say like their stuff wasn't as big as mine. It's just like this, my experience of things that were hard for me. I don't know. What about y'all? Would you lose, gain, release, whatever?
It's funny. I feel like it's interesting. I feel like I found a part of myself that I think I hid for a long time. That I hid under people's perception of me. Always being the vocal one or the one that had an opinion, or of course y'all know all the jazz. And feeling like I held that as my identity. Like I can't get out of this. Like, this is just who I am, kind of a thing. And I don't think I realized I was doing that until Jesus kind of started getting to me. Those tender spots of like, why do you think that? Like, why do you think you're too loud? Or why do you think you're too opinionated? Or, all the extra, like, too much of who I created you to be. Like, how are you saying that I got that wrong?
Right.
And so really getting comfortable with how I think, what I like, my voice, even the sound of my voice. Like I'm sure, like, listening to this once we post it and stuff, it's gonna be like, oh my gosh, I got to hear myself like talk.
Yeah.
And even that, like, because we tend to have this idea of what we're supposed to sound like, but then it's like, well, where do we get that from, right? Like, why do we feel like we should sound like someone else?
Right.
So really grabbing onto what makes me unique and special, and being okay with celebrating that, because we've talked about that before too, Nina and Ronisha, like, just being okay with celebrating who we are, like what makes us different, and that we're intelligent and that we're creative, and being able to say it without feeling like you're being prideful or you don't have space or the right to celebrate who you are and what you're good at, and that's been a huge learning pocket for me. What I felt like I lost this year was the idea of friendships that weren't real friendships. So, like, people that I thought were really my friends, like, oh, they're not. They're just like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they're just like, I don't know. I don't even know. I can't even think of what the word is, but
There's
like,
degrees.
Like, they are people
like,
in proximity to you who you share common activities
Interests
and
interests.
Yeah, that whole yes, thank you.
Those
I'm like, I
folks.
can't think of the words. And so because you're in these circles and you're running these circles all the time, and often you think because you may experience some of the same things that you're developing a bond. And that happens sometimes, but then realizing like, oh, there is actually no bond. Like, I still actually can't trust that person, even though we've walked through all these things. And so that has been a hard reality. Good, because it helps me to create healthy boundaries and protect my heart and all that jazz. Also, I felt like, and I'm still working through this, that I feel like I lost and gained a father. So I'm learning how to love my earthly father without expecting it back in return. Because, like, learning how, and it's totally making me emotional, but learning how to love him well, even though he can't love me well. And that's him and some other people that I've been struggling with that whole thing. And Jesus really been like, well, that's what I do with y'all. Y'all cannot love me the way you're supposed to love me. There's just no way. You do not have the capacity to do that. And so, so it's that balance of releasing my father from fatherly duties and just loving him and still honoring him. And then also the realization of, I do have a father. I have a perfect father. I have a father that loves me unconditionally. And you know what I'm saying? And so I'm not a bastard child.
Right.
But I've always felt that way.
Yeah.
Because he wasn't in the picture. And learning how to be a daughter. Like, not just, this is my title, I'm a child of God, but what does it look like to be the daughter to a father? That's a whole new realm for me. So yeah, that has been my 8 months. I'm like, how many months has it been?
Just about.
So yeah, that's been good and heavy, and it's all good stuff. It just can be hard.
The easiest.
Yeah.
Bumpy and turbulent.
Yes.
Turbulent,
but really fruitful. Like, there's so much fruit, like in that, and release, but there's also mourning. Like, I still have to mourn the fact that he can't, he just doesn't have the capacity for whatever reason to step into that role fully. And just, so yeah, it's been, like you said, very turbulent.
That's gonna be
Like,
my new
buckle
word
up.
for the year. Turbulent.
Buckle up,
Buckle up, it's gonna be a
Oh.
bumpy ride.
buckle
What about you,
up.
Rod?
Yeah.
All right, what's the question again?
All right.
I got so invested in y'all's answers. I was like, what? I don't remember
What
what I'm
did
supposed
you
to
lose, find, release, and or gain this year?
lose, find,
2020.
release, and or gain. Um, lose. Or I feel like the release and find are intertwined because it has to do with me finding me and releasing this old version or idea of who I am and what I'm capable of, or
Yes.
really what I'm not, because
Yeah.
that's a lot of what that is. And so, and that's been a more recent, actually, that's not even true. It's been a year-long thing. It's been going on here, but in stages. And I think the most in-depth part of it has been within the last like 3 months. But I think this year forced me to really look at myself. And, you know, I sit and I'm looking at like, why isn't life looking the way I want? Why isn't anything being reflected the way I want? And of course, when the world stops, it's like you really have to examine
Yeah.
your space
Everything.
and everything. It takes microscopic examination. And I think my mindset had always been just, I don't know, it's been a lot of things, a lot of convoluted thoughts and ideas that over time and over the years from childhood, I have learned and adapted and decided were me.
Yeah.
And a lot of them were limiting, and a lot of them were fixed. And so this year has been a lot of upheaval of that. And so, like Candace said, it's been good, but it has been, ugh. It's all the things I hate. It's all the things and the reality, I think what's been interesting too is realizing how much I mentally do to avoid things that I don't want to deal with.
Yeah.
I am
Yeah.
like a circus acrobat when it comes to avoiding my inner issues. I don't know how I learned to be so adept at it, but and then also realizing just how far back it goes. It's like I've been doing this since I was a kid, and
Yeah.
like why and how and when did this become the way I felt I needed to be to get through life?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you hit a wall and you realize like, oh, this isn't working. This is not working. It's not working, and I'm tired.
Yeah.
I tell you something, when you get to be 28, like I am, you realize that you get a lot more tired easily, and it's hard. It's hard.
It is
28 is a
hard.
fragile age.
It is a fragile age.
So
I agree.
Oh my gosh.
Speaking of
So-
fragile ages, 35. This was my 35 year. My
Oh,
birthday
wow.
was rough. Okay. Like I cried a lot the week of my birthday. My birthday is March 3rd. So I cried a lot. I was so, first off, let me just say this about my personality. I was the person who absolutely had a quarter life crisis. Like I was having a quarter life crisis at 23, child. I was just doing
You got a
the
2-year jump
most,
start?
just falling apart. And then 25 came and I was like, it was like wrecking havoc. And I was like, oh, it's so, and then 2 months later, I was like, oh, 25 is kind of cool. But 10 years later, I think I'm still working through, even though I asked y'all, like, it's interesting. You know how when you think you've learned a lesson, you know, when the Lord's worked with you, and you're like, you know what?
Mhm.
It's been years since that thing came up. I must have aced that quiz. No. Lord brought that around. One more again, you know? He was like, got one for you, pop quiz. Let's see if you learned, if you retained any information. 2020.
Ooh.
He
Yeah.
was like, got him. Got to be quicker than that. Because I was like, ooh, nope, answered wrong. Buzzer. Like, he was like, no, we're going to spend the rest of 2020 working on this. We're going to roll it on into 2021. Because I feel like November came and he kicked it into overdrive of like, I
Yeah.
don't think you got it. But I love you so much, I'm going to give you a do-over.
I'm gonna make
you
sure
know?
you do get it.
You know,
Mhm.
as many times as it takes. So I think one thing that this year revealed to me again, how lovingly, is definitely childhood habits, like you said, of like wanting to control things. And you know how when they say you go through those stages of grief where there's like bartering? I definitely went through that and didn't realize I was in that season this year of like, well, Lord, okay, if I just get over the fact that this and this happened this year, could you just like give me this instead? Like, let's work it with each other on a new 2020
Help me,
plan,
help you, help me.
right? Like, I don't know if you quite understood what was
Right.
on my heart, so
I can
I'm gonna
clarify.
try
I can clarify.
to draw a picture
No, baby.
and write it and scribe it out for you. You know, he was just like, that's real cute. So like I was doing all the things. I felt like the overall theme that I'm shifting into, because I decided I should invest in myself. A good friend of ours, Iffy, I used to help her with her business, and she was telling me about this coach that she had, and she's like, Nina, you know, you should be really doing this. It'll be so good for you. And I was like, cool, bet. And so I signed up. I was like, I'm investing in this. I'm doing it. I got so busy in trying to control and juggle all the things on like business side, because it was a blessing that like there was an uptick in my business in the sense of people not taking so long to make up their mind about certain details and getting started. But I was so worried about not being lazy this year, because all of that toxic positivity that was going on in 2020,
Yep.
that I was making a lot of, because this was my year of yes. So I was saying yes to things that could have been a yes, but, or a yes, and I was making them a yes now. And so the last quarter of the year ran myself into the ground. Okay. Like, under it. And the part that frustrated me is like, I made a commitment to myself, and I think I was wrestling with like, I gave more to other people and my yeses to other people than I gave to the yeses to myself. So I said yes to a coach, but then I wasn't making time to go through my material. There was everything in the world was happening. We had a loss in the family. Like, it was just so many things I was letting like distract me. And so then I'm like, I went a whole month. I paid a month of service. I haven't used it. I'm gonna give myself another month. And, you know, just kind of like, don't quit on myself.
Yeah.
But I also wasn't giving myself the time. And it's a trip, because the first like pillar of the training is all about worthiness, because it's like, how do I become a millionaire? And so, you know, the dance around like, I don't know if I want to go into that. Like, there's these things where you're like, I totally believe I'm worthy of like all of it. But then when you get to yourself and like your behaviors and your choices and your habits, you're like, well, do I really believe that I'm worthy?
Yeah.
Like,
It's very much the opposite.
you know, I'm like, shit, I mean, how comfortable am I asking of just like, this is my premium rate, and if anyone can't pay my premium rate for whatever service I'm going to offer, like, then that's just not the client for me. Like, I just can't work with that team. I'm not the person, because I'm worthy of being paid
what
by
you
value,
are worth,
not by time, you know? And so I'm like going through that
girl
all over again.
Me
and Jesus had to go through that just for me to quit the job and be like, we're going to do entrepreneurship full time. Because I've always been like, people used to be like, you know, that horrible, I don't know if it's horrible when you say you work like a Jamaican, when you have like lots of jobs. I've always been that person. So I always had like freelance work, side gig, my steady check. So now it was like, you are the enterprise, just you. I'm like, I can totally do this. Now I'm like, do I want to do this?
What was that?
Do I know what I'm doing? My husband this week was like, you ready to quit your entire career, your business right now. You need to get a team and stop playing. I was like,
it's it's hard, man, to trust someone else with your dream.
Exactly.
And that has been, I just recently agreed to come along to join someone else's team and support their vision. And which y'all both know is the last time I did that and supported someone's vision and dove all in, which same thing happened to Ranisha, we were badly wounded.
This is true. This is very true.
And the process of me even deciding to like say yes to a great opportunity, because it's not like I had to shut down the Set You Much or not. I can't, like, I can actually promote that also on this other platform.
Mhm.
But the idea of like stepping into somebody else's vision was like terrifying for me.
Mhm.
And did not know it until the opportunity came up.
Mm.
And so the whole time I'm like, Jesus, like, I don't know if I'm supposed to do this. And he's just responding in questions. Well, why? What do you not like about this organization? Like, do you think you're not going to benefit? Is how you feeling of me, or is that because of your past? Like, do you think your past is just going to replay in your future? So then are you going to miss out on something in your future because you're going to yourself replay your past? And you know what I'm saying? It's just, it was this whole like
all
The
those
dialogue.
questions.
that was really great and really frustrating because everything was like, no, yes, like, yes, Jesus, you're right, no.
Yeah, thanks.
And being okay with being excited about it. Like, we should be excited to promote other people's visions and dreams and creative niches and whatever it is. And it sucks when we're mishandled. And especially if we're mishandled and the person that harmed us doesn't necessarily, you don't feel like they really step up to the plate and apologize and take responsibility for what was done. 9 years later, this is coming up. And I realized how much I steered clear of, like, I'll support you from afar.
Right.
But if you ask me to commit to your vision is a whole different thing. Like, I had to decide to commit for a year to be a part of this. And I was like,
Like, wait a minute.
wait a minute, Jesus.
Years
so
a long time.
It is, but it's such a, it made me sad and excited. Like, it made me really excited to step into something new and support someone else that God gave them a dream also. Like, he's given us all dreams and visions and purpose and all the stuff. And that because of how we treat each other, that can stop someone completely from moving forward and supporting the kingdom.
Right.
Like, we're supposed to be doing this thing together, but you can't if you're all bound up in this big old wound that you either know or don't know exists. And so having to come to peace with, I just, like, that apology just won't happen for a lot of us. And moving forward, like, Jesus, you got us, we're good. And we can move forward in what you have planned for us, and help us learn how to guard our heart so we don't just jump in to someone else's vision and lose ourselves.
Yeah.
But I think what's part of my issue is that it was like a big family. We all dove in with literally everything that we had, our hearts, our finances, our time, like everything. And like you were saying, Nina, you forget to, like, make sure you're okay and invest in yourself, you know? And so it's all learning and hindsight so that you can kind of garner wisdom from all the things that happen.
But I think that part you mentioned, you said like a phrase that I don't think I've really come to understand, like, in the spiritual and the physical, until like later in life, which is that bound up stuff. Because it's really hard to see. Like, I know there was, like, we've talked to, you know, if some of you who are listening aren't that, you know, charismatic, you could just rock with us for just a couple seconds. So, like, not understanding, like, when you see things, but like, I remember being in a church service and just having this vision of seeing people who just have, like, who are hemorrhaging, right? Like, who are just like a bunch of like wounds just bleeding out and like just faking the funk and like just putting band-aids on like deep open cut wounds, like you hit arteries, like you are over there struggling, like quit trying to play like you got it together. And I think this year, I think that's what was happening. Like, I was just wrapped so tight on like, get through, prepare, because I don't know what's happening in this country. We might have to leave, like, you know, we might have to
right. That was a real thing. Yes.
We got our passports. So what's this visa process? Like, we was getting ready. So I was like, okay, let's make sure we have money in the bank. Okay, I can still do my work on a computer, you know, just trying to think of options.
To get it done. Yeah.
And I was like, just head down, work and grind. That's been us this year, like just getting stuff done. And I don't know, something about that Q4, honey, was not here for it. Q4 said, we can't breathe. Like I was so bound up in like
Oh my
control
gosh. Yeah.
and like what looks like success and like where I should be
Yeah. Get lost in
and
all that.
fear about like I work with leaders, I've helped develop leaders, but then not trusting my own leadership style in some reason at the end of the year. Just like a lot of like you said, right, like a bunch of false narratives, lies happening. And then it was just like, well, I can't bring any people on yet because I haven't even I can't even communicate what I want them to do. And just, it was just like a bunch of nonsense, just bound up, can't breathe, tired, and don't know how to tell
Strangling.
somebody you need help.
Strangling. Yep. Gasping.
Send
Anybody.
somebody.
Well, that's actually a good lead into our next question. So who are the 3 people who have been the most influential to you?
In life or this year?
This year?
Let's go with this year.
Yeah, let's go with this year. Normally, I wouldn't say social media is a healthy place, but I do feel like this year, I'm going to give a shout out to the NAP ministry because I feel like my thing for this year was, which I've reposted today actually, about like, she posted about today about wanting people to stop saying rest is rebellion versus because I'm more like rest is resistance.
I've never heard that.
Right, because people have like hijacked her phrase, phrase that she's used and try to turn into other things. And she was like, "When I'm not saying rest is rebellion. Rebellion is a whole nother narrative versus like we're resisting things being put on us and oppression and like trying to work our way out of liberation versus like leading in something." So I feel like that this year, even though it's kind of like that subconscious messaging that when I feel like I'm overworked and all I can do is take a nap, I'm like, just go sleep. I don't care. Jeff can say, anybody, I'm unavailable. I'm taking a nap in the middle of the day. I can't do anything else. And I think it's catching up where I'm really like prioritizing, I'm really understanding how important it is. But I think I really linked into the ideology of, or the philosophy of like our particular ancestors did so much laboring that rest is important for us, like that we and you can't really think well when you're not rested. You can't see the forest from the trees when you're not rested.
Interesting you say that too, Nina, because there's like a generational overworking nature tethered to our people generationally. Like if you think about that, it's like, when has rest ever been an option? So there's just this generational thought and belief of you've got to work and work and work and don't stop working. When you stop, you die. So that's an interesting thing, you saying that I was like, oh, that's like, that has been the narrative, and people live like that and then carry that onto their children and then their children, and it's just ongoing thing.
Or the quote, I'll rest when I die.
I'm resting.
I think you just run yourself ragged and do all this stuff, and then why? But I feel like going to what you were saying, it's too extreme. Because either you work, or you don't know how to work. You know what I'm saying? So then you're lazy, or you don't know how to invest. You don't know how
floundering.
You're just like kind of there and spinning your wheels, and there's no productivity to it. It's just
toiling.
Toiling is a good word. Yes.
Good one. I like that one.
So that balance, man, like learning that balance is something serious.
I can't remember her name right now, but maybe it's Shonda. I'll look it up. But I think I've shared it with y'all about like she does like around kingdom entrepreneur, like kingdom-minded entrepreneurs, and hers was what started me off the year before I found the NAP ministry. But she always talked about like grace over grind, and so I think this year my framework for excellence is being challenged, and really I do anti-racism work. So I've come to really understand how some of the ideology I have around like perfectionism is still
Yeah.
spiritually unhealthy, but then what it looks like in the physical is linked to white supremacy. And let me not get too deep, but it is. So like a lot of I have to be 3 times that language of I have to be
Yeah,
four,
have to
three,
be
4 times better than everyone
better
else.
than
And
the
like,
average. Yeah.
and I'm just kind of like, yeah, I'm tired of that. I want to divorce that
Yeah.
too.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yes.
that's true. That just, yeah.
I might have more grace for us than I have had in the years of like judging young Black people, young people of color, of like, we should have it together. Cause I'm like, I've
Right.
already lived through that pressure that was unnecessary. Having a
Right.
quarter life crisis at 23.
I was gonna say, and did it
Yeah.
help? Did it help?
No.
Didn't help
No.
me at all.
Just paralyzes you. Makes you crazy. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. Okay, wait.
about
So
you?
who are the 3 people?
3 people.
Yes, 3 people. I
Did it?
I mean, I could name some people, but I feel like it's more than 3 people.
Ooh, a
For
lot
me.
of
I mean,
beautiful people.
y'all too, and then
course,
we have
y'all.
our melanated unicorn
Our M
thread
cups, come on.
that we're consistently encouraging each other and being honest and being vulnerable and
Mhm.
pointing out
Mhm.
flaws and calling each other out and praying for each other
Yeah.
and fighting for each other. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just a consistent cycle, and it's a healthy one. You know
Yep.
what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's and a lot of people, I realize more and more, don't have that.
Yeah.
Because what feels so normal and natural for us, when I talk to some other people, they're like, I don't have that. Like,
Okay,
there is no one that I can go to or talk to or that is encouraging me without there being some ulterior motive
Yep.
Right.
attached.
Or they
to
trying
it.
to send you an invoice. You're like, wait,
Yeah.
this wasn't a coaching session. I
It's
was
like this
just
wasn't just
Man.
friendship.
Friendship, maybe, kind of, sort
I didn't do an intake form. I didn't know I was a client.
of. Oh my gosh! Does anyone have?
What about
3
you,
people?
Roddy?
Oh, we can, yeah.
Oh, I'm just yawning on camera like y'all can't see my face. I
Doesn't
I mean,
hear.
obviously us, and that's always a thing. Like I would say my friendships have been imperative this year, and knowing and being affirmed in the fact that I do have some good, solid, genuine friendships.
Yeah.
Uh yeah. So there's that. I would also say Kate Zinchenko, whom I have
Oh,
been working
yeah.
with, doing all of my inner
She's
me
awesome.
stuff.
Awesome.
And
Nice. I didn't know
awesome.
that was you
has-
working with Kate.
Yeah. So
Shout
I
out
can
Kate.
thank Candace for that, bringing her to her doggone conference and
Doesn't hear.
boo-hooing the
Homegirl.
mess out of me. So I was like, something's
We
wrong
gotta
with me. I
solve.
should talk to this lady. I don't know what this is. And what does she mean? Inner child. Mine's upset. I don't know why. And it's like,
Tantrum.
so, but that honestly has,
Oh my god.
I think, rounded a corner for me that, again, I think had already started at the beginning of this year, because there were some mind shift things that were starting to change. And this is just forcing me to really go deeper with that. And Kate has just been a great resource for me on just not only the self-examination, but like being able to talk things through with and affirming me in this process, because this is a very foreign process for me.
Mhm, mhm.
And it's one of those things where it's like, oh, I think I know myself pretty well. And then you're like, I don't, clearly I know nothing. I told my friend the other day, I was like, it's like my brain is like a little tiny dictator within my own body. And my subconscious brain is this little dictator that is really running the show when I think I'm running the show, but I'm like the co-pilot, and it's constantly tricking me into thinking that I'm in charge, but really it's just like giving me like a toy ship to go pretend to captain while it's actually running the show. I was like, this is wild. Like
that
things.
visual was just so
Yeah, it's like picturing all of that was really
Like,
it's a little
Exactly. It's like, oh, what do we she wants to do things again. She wants to change stuff. What do we do? What do we do? Hey, you want to go you like this thing? Go do that thing. You like that. she'll get over it in like 30 seconds and then she'll forget she ever thought about this. It's fine. It's like, that's literally what is clearly
this.
happening in my brain all the time. So,
Oh my
but
God.
anyway, all that to say, Kate has gotten me to the place where I can recognize these things and be like, wait a minute, hold on. Are you trying to trick me again? The last time it wasn't real and I'm catching on.
The games you're playing.
Nah, not this time.
Oh my God.
So it is getting me to acknowledge and recognize and find those patterns and thoughts and like stop them and halt them. And so that's been a huge thing for me. And it's not easy, but all I can hope is that it will change and shift everything. Because I'm realizing how much my thinking and limited beliefs have affected, not because I started working with her because I wanted to work on my relationships. Hashtag I don't want to be single in 2020. 21. Anyway, so I started working with her because I was like, oh, I've got to figure out why I can't keep a man or get a man or flag a man down. What is the deal? And so I was like, I'm going to go to this lady, Kate. She says she can fix me and I'm going to let her do it. And so that was the entree into this endeavor. And then I realized, oh man, these thoughts are not just affecting this. It's affecting my view on work. It's affecting my view on what I'm capable of. It's affecting my relationship with my family. It's everything.
Woosah, Rod.
So all that to say, we are a work in progress and we are learning a lot about ourselves. Truly, what's truly going on. And Kate has been a big beacon of light in that regard. So that's been a hugely influential person
Kate.
this year. So yes,
good.
that's one of them. And then I've been following I don't know if you guys have heard, I'm sure you've heard of Kev on Stage, the comedian. Follow his stuff a lot, but I've been following just kind of his journey into like this self-producing thing that is happening. Like it's gone from like, oh, I'm a comedian, I make videos and and he's like gotten to the point where he's like, I'm tired of waiting on Hollywood to give me what I know I'm worth. I'm gonna do it myself. And so he is creating his own, he already created his own studio. And now he's creating a production company and he's like building an app that's going to host like Black creatives and just all this stuff. And the journey's been really intriguing to watch. And so it's been part inspiring and part like, oh, I'll never get where I want to go in life. Like it's like this man made an empire in the year of 2020, in the year of our Lord 2020. This man has made a production studio and created an app and done all these things and a comedy show and a tour. And I am just trying to keep myself from eating another bag of potato chips. So
look, that's me all day. I'm just trying to make sure I drink water. Did I drink?
Right. Small goals.
I don't remember the last time I actually had to go to the bathroom. I need to go drink some water.
Hydration.
I got mine right.
It's a struggle for me, man. I'm working on it.
But all that to say, he's been inspiring in that regard as well, from a creative side, because I've been watching that journey and being like, why couldn't I do this? Why can't I do this? I could do this. Now I just got to figure out how. It's like, I am just as capable, just as competent. I don't see where the disconnect is. And so it's been an interesting thing for me where I'm like, okay, well, once I work out all my stuff in here, then we going for, going for the life altering, momentum changing things. So that's who I'd say.
I don't know if 2020 made my dreams smaller or bigger. I'm still working through that. Because I definitely, I think I've surprised myself in how much I've been able to get done. But I do recognize, my spouse has his team now, and he's just all week, he's just been talking about how much more productive how much stuff he's gotten done in less amount of time. And that's always been the desire, is to have a people who could do things that I could be more owner, less operator in my business. But I also hate not setting people up well. And I don't like to bring people into a relationship of some kind of working with me and I'm not expecting them I just feel like that's a part of my narrative of being unprofessional. And I think that gets in my way because I tend to be a thinker, cognitive. It's got to be together before I do it.
Yeah.
So between worthiness and executing, like just execute and process, improve later. I'm hoping, my hope is in the next year we'll be a little bit further along of like sitting on stuff to get done, because I want to get this book done. And
Yes,
probably like our
Lord.
question of like, what have you read or listened to recently that inspired you? And oddly enough, because we talked about this like whenever we were talking about we wanted to do this podcast, I have been reading fiction from like different artists or writers from different historically marginalized communities, like the whole range of them. I've been reading like romance novels. And I have to say, I think what's intriguing to me about romance novels, like even though they're just like these storylines are just ridiculous, I think what I've gotten from them though, from the characters themselves, is just like this vulnerability of emotions that I like about storytelling and romance novels. So I think like people being vulnerable, or like there's always people wrestling through something painful from the past, and like how to embrace somebody new into their life. And I feel like that stuff's been helping me of like look at myself, because sometimes you're like, this is dumb, stop being dumb. You're telling yourself a story, you don't know the guy's thinking that about you. But then I'm like, how often do I do that in my own head? So it's been very helpful for me, in like my sense of being vulnerable, even with myself. I feel like I'm getting better of like, this is how I feel today, just from like reading romance novels.
That's
like
nice.
interracial couples, Black couples, people on the LGBT spectrum, like older adults in love. I've just been reading everybody's stories.
I will say that's interesting to contemplate, and I'm not a big fan of romance novels, but I wonder if that is because of the representation in romance novels. I don't think it is, but it helps to know that there is representation in those, out there that's available, because that's definitely not something you see. Like every romance novel I remember, my mom, tangent. My mom was a very big fan of Danielle Steele. And every Danielle Steele cover I ever saw had some Fabio looking dude on the cover with some wayfish looking white woman who just looked too frail to stand up. And
not wayfish.
What? Am I wrong?
Nope. The
Tell me
illustration.
if I'm wrong, people.
I'm like, she can't even stand up. The wind is blowing her down.
Right. Her clothes is falling all off her shoulders. She's too small. She needs to eat. That's the problem.
She needs a vitamin supplement. She needs vitamin D. Sunlight. That's what it helps.
Oh my God.
It shouldn't take a man this big to hold you up. That's all I'm saying. So all I'm saying is every time I saw those books, I was just like, I can't relate. I can't relate.
This book tells me already it's nothing for me.
Oh, that was so funny.
But yeah, like I was reading a story. I mean, I was listening to a story. I did it on the audiobook, and I was like, wait, hold on. Like it's also because I work bias work. So it just like suddenly realized that this was a couple that they're talking about. They're like in their 60s and 70s. And I was like, oh, wait a second. It just like, they just brought that in.
Smashing
like,
those
talking about
assumptions.
they had 6 kids. I was like, 6 kids? What?
I like
and they're trying to get their romance back. Like the last one I watched, she was she was like super subconscious. Her husband was trying to take her on a vacation and like, be with his woman. And she was like avoiding her husband. She's like, I've gained all this weight and like my body's not what it used to when I was 20. And he putting on all the moves, okay? All the liners to be like, oh, sit your Barry Whites up there. He's trying to romance in this book. And she's just like, and it kind of gave me like, oh wait, this is I'm not alone in these moments where I feel like I'm not sexy and I'm not the hottest
so
thing
real.
that I used to be when I was 21. He was like, girl, I love you. 40 years. What you talking about? I like what I see. When you're naked and when you're not. I want it with your clothes on right now. You're so fine. I was like, you gotta tell that woman she fine.
Can we, all right, side note, can we do a podcast where we just do Nina reactions to romance novels? Just her thumbing through these pages.
The Nina recap.
I
of the
looked at
romance
Jeff like, you
novel.
better talk to me
Ooh.
like that when I'm 65, talking about I'm fine.
just
Okay, you better
saying.
All
tell
right,
me.
y'all, digital content. I want it. I need
It's gonna
Nina
happen.
recaps of romance
Yes.
novels.
And give us some book suggestions that she
Mhm.
I got
needs to
you.
read. So she can give us a recap of
Nina
what
can
is
give us
happening.
the abridged version.
Yes.
The 2021
Oh my
laugh it
gosh.
out loud.
Yeah, that would be so good.
Listen,
Oh
I
my
felt
gosh.
I felt very inspired by that older couple romance. I was like,
Yeah.
this is what I want to be like when my kids is gone and we got grandbabies on the way. Fire and desire. That's what I need.
This is true. It's so real,
Hard
man.
to
That whole body
fire.
conscious thing.
You don't become asexual just because you turn 65. It's not real.
It's true.
Y'all making me nervous because I'm already losing the body. He ain't even gonna get to experience the best of the body. I gotta
Trust me.
get it back before I
Listen,
lose it.
All of who you are.
already. He probably been eyeing you for the
Mhm.
past 6 weeks when you be popping up at work and you're like, dang, she fine. She's fine.
Mhm.
I'm just
Mhm.
saying, you know, I'd be like, you should have seen my 23-year-old self.
Oh my god.
Let me pull out my photos.
She was
for you.
hot. I didn't know it at the time, but she was hot.
Yo. You know what's so funny? Like before I had kids, I didn't have like hips. I had a little booty, but I have hips.
Side
And-
note, people, one of Candace's nicknames was Eminem because of her little,
My
y'all
little
can't see the
Eminem
visual
booty.
I'm making, but it's two little hand circles coming together.
Oh.
But yeah,
But what, like, one of the things I have been self-conscious about is like I have hips now, and it's like it's just weird for me to like. It's like it's a new body, and that just happens. Like you just, regardless if you can't have kids or not,
If
your
kids or not,
body
honey.
just changes.
I was gonna say, oh, it has happened.
things are
Because I was the
Things
same
are
way. I was
places
like,
that they
what are these?
But I was
Huh.
talking to Jamie one day, which is my husband, for those that are listening or watching. And I think he made a comment about my hips. And I think it was something that he like requested. Like it was one of the things on his list
Oh, he
that
prayed
he
for
wanted.
He
Yeah,
prayed this upon
that
you.
his wife to have. And so some of my curves and things that I tend to think, oh, like that changed and I don't like that as much. He's like, that is just fine. Please don't change that. Please don't lose that. Please don't change that. Don't do nothing to it.
So I done
like
been
it.
praying for
It's like,
10 years.
I love your whole body. Just
I like
leave
it
it
where
alone.
it is, how it is, the way my hands fit to the things that are there. Turned into a whole spoken word moment. You like, okay,
You sure
all right.
did. And the hat isn't dissuading this effect.
No,
Where my
no, it's
hands
just
fall
all.
upon your waist and they take place in the space and all the grace and
Be sounding like the songs of Solomon over there. You be like, okay.
Listen here. That's a good book to read.
Listen. I
But
remember
man,
the first
yeah.
time I read that book, I was like, am I old enough to read this? I might need to
There's
skip
so
this.
much in there.
Is this supposed to be in the children's
We
Bible?
need to talk about this. We need to talk about songs.
not the children's Bible.
So much. I'm just saying.
They
There's a lot
forgot to
happening
take
there.
one out. They forgot to take a chapter out because I was feel like
Let's read that.
this don't sound like the birds and the bees, but it feels relatively close to that story.
And they do use birds and bees and
Yeah.
trees.
And
And
trees and flowers,
Flowers.
all kinds of
Flowers.
things.
Well, okay,
Oh,
so I
boy,
totally
okay.
took up on a tangent, but those are the books that have inspired me. Okay, to get my life, work on my emotional health. My husband would
God.
love for them to have been business books, but romance books have gotten me through Q3 and Q4 of
Just
2020.
inspired.
Find your bliss.
All the
sis.
feelings.
Find it. Hold on to it. Find
I be wanting more hugs, you know. I mean, just all of that. I'm like, I need a hug today. Let me tune into my emotion.
Aw,
I
love
need a
that.
real good long hug.
real good hug. I
Yeah.
do request hugs. I'm like, babe, babe, I need a hug. Yeah, please. I even do it to
What
my
about
mom.
y'all? What'd y'all read?
Oh, I was just gonna say I find hugs where I can. I thought that was
I
your
wish
question.
I could send you a hug.
You said,
in
"Wow."
quarantine.
You were like, "What about y'all?" I was like, "Oh, I get by lamps, pillows." blankets.
I meant books.
Books,
Books
yes.
or things you've listened to.
Books,
Oh,
yes.
Things you
gosh.
read. It don't have to be a book, but something you read or listened to that inspired you this year.
Y'all know I'm a Sarah Jakes Roberts fan.
Yes.
And so I've been I read her, I think Don't Settle for Safe. I had to look it up because I
Oh,
couldn't quite remember. But it was really, really good. And before that, I read the Lost and Found one. That shared a lot of her testimony, which I was like, oh, that was like, it was encouraging and like, okay, like Jesus can use all the things, right?
Mhm.
Like, all of our story, he can use it. But the Don't Settle for Safe thing, I think in that one, she talked a lot about friendship. She talked a lot about advocating for herself and for the things that she wanted. And so I've been reading books kind of like that, it's not so much self-help. I think it's people just sharing their wisdom they learned through their own personal journeys, which I really like books like that, as well as like horror books, like Christian thriller horror.
You and your horror books.
I know,
This has
I
been
know,
a decades-long endeavor. This girl likes her scary stuff.
I do. But it's cool. Like there's the one book. I can't remember who it's by. I think it's Ted Decker.
I
And
was gonna say it has to be Ted Decker. He's only
but
well,
it's
he's probably
a-
not the only one,
he
but
wrote it with someone else.
Peretti.
Yeah,
Frank
it's
Peretti.
Decker and Peretti, and it's the one with the it's Emmanuel's veins. And I remember, and towards the end of the chapter, one of the quotes or the things that he says, or the person that says in there, is that they pretty much knew that the person was sick, and they had gone through a whole bunch of stuff, and God had redeemed them, but the woman just couldn't see anyone loving her. And he was like, I don't don't care what you've been through. Like, I just love you for who you are. Like, you're redeemed, even though you don't believe it. God still has his hand on you and you're good. And it really resonated with me. And I've read the book, I think 2 or 3 times, like, because that last chapter of it, and because pretty much someone else's polluted blood was in this other person, and it made them really sick, and it changed them all and all this other stuff. And then in the end, that person is redeemed. But all they could think was that blood ran through my body. Like that evil, tainted, awful blood ran through my body. And so I am no longer the same person. Therefore, no one can love me.
Okay.
And so to see that and kind of put that with my own life, because there's so many times I felt that way. Like, no one can love me because of what I've gone through or my story or whatever. And then to look and see, well, that's not true. One, Jesus.
My blood did it all.
Jesus loves me. Yeah, exactly. And then, and I have an amazing husband, and I have amazing friends that love me. It's just, it just echoed so much. And so even though it's a horror thriller kind of movie, book, the reason why I love their book so much is because they pull in scripture. Like they take these ideas throughout scripture and then they make it into this thriller. So there's still nuggets and wisdom throughout the whole thing. So that's my
maybe I'll take a couple then.
I'm just saying, I'll let you alone.
House was one of my favorites.
The day.
House was good too. Yep, House was good too.
And I read some sci-fi, so I can get into. I'll try. You send a couple my way. I'll try mine.
I will. I would do that.
I'll be a sport.
Actual book. I got you.
Oh man.
Have you read any, Rod? Did you say your books?
Have I read?
Or listened to?
I
guess it could be podcast.
Yeah, it could be anything. Podcast too.
I was gonna say, have I read? I've tried. I've read a lot of scripts because of the table read project that I'm doing. So that's most of my reading. Podcast wise, I actually, the funny thing is I haven't been listening to podcasts the way I have in previous years because I don't drive as much. And so that's usually when my podcast time is happening. And so I don't think to put them on when I'm just at home.
Yeah.
So I've been watching mostly. I'm trying to think. Ooh, what have I watched that's been kind of inspiring? it's been like random. I've been finding inspirational moments in random little things. I think there have just been times where I've been watching stuff that like might be stuff that I've even seen before, but like for whatever reason this year or this season, it's hitting differently. So I know like I was watching another round of The Office. I've watched it a billion times.
Get
All
to
of that,
all the
all of
Christmas
it.
episodes. We've been on a
I know that I just started Christmas episodes this week. But I was watching just the seasons through, and for whatever reason, the Michael Holly storyline was really standing out to me. Usually it's Jim and Pam, or I don't know, it's just whatever, it depends. But the Michael Holly storyline, I was just like, I think it was because I was just like, he just knew. He knew. I think that's the thing that was really hitting me, was like, he knew this was his wife. And it didn't matter how many times or how many ways he was being denied like the chance to be with her. He was just like, I just know. I know that's who I'm supposed to be with. I don't care. Who else I gotta date or how many years I gotta wait. Like, I'm gonna get back to Holly and I'm gonna show her that we're supposed to be together and it's happening. And so like
That's
that
true.
just really resonated, where I was just like, man, like Michael he just was convicted and confirmed, and he just saw that through. And like even when she came back the second time and was already dating someone else,
Remember
and
that?
he's just
Yep.
like, you know, just telling her all this stuff, remember this and remember that. She's like, oh, Michael, I mean, it was, you know, it was years ago. It was a fun little thing. It happened. It's done. And he's just like, no, we belong together. I love you and you love me. It's like,
let me help you remember.
right.
Yeah.
You gonna see it eventually. So yeah, I don't know why that one just really stood out to me this time around. And then I also started Schitt's Creek and got into that show, and it's very funny. But there were a few storylines in that show too that really resonated me, where I was like, I think one of the characters, David, when he gets together with Patrick, he was all like, you can't want me. I'm like garbage, basically. Like, you don't know what I've been through in my past. You don't know who I used to be. You think I'm this great, wonderful person because I live here now and I have nothing. But like, I wasn't always that way. And no one ever wanted me to before. That was the part that got me. It's like when I tried to have relationships in the past, no one ever really wanted me and they just discarded me. And so you can't really want me either. And so that was one of those where I was just like, ooh,
yeah.
ooh, is it hot in here? Is it someone cooking pepper? I don't understand what's happening. So there's been a few things just more in film and television. And then I watched Jingle Jangle, and that was just adorable. And I loved the dancing. I won't say what happens in the end.
Thank you.
But the dancing is amazing. The music is amazing. I was just like, I just love a good song and dance. I'm a musical gal, you guys, and I love a good song and dance. And the funny thing is, I was watching it and I was like, these dance numbers feel very familiar. It's very Greatest Showman. Same.
Yeah, it is.
So I was like, that makes sense.
I saw the first part of it. Yeah.
Total sense.
Yeah.
And then it's a white man named Ashley. I was like, this is a white man named Ashley doing these moves. Come on, Ashley, go off. I wasn't ready. So anyway.
Oh, Ashley. Yeah, I fell asleep the first time, but I blame it on mimosas and a lot of biscuits and waffles because we had family brunch, and I was like, I was asleep before the first song even finished. I was not. It watched me. I don't know if the rest of them. I feel like everyone fell asleep, so I'm gonna have to give it a real honest shot, but not on a Sunday. It has to be like a Saturday.
No.
Yeah, I was.
No.
I was asleep for like 3 hours. I didn't see
any
any
good
of it.
nap. That's a real good nap.
It's a glorious Sunday every Sunday. I'm like, I'm just gonna sleep here. Oh, it's 4 o'clock. Oh snap, time to go. You know, like I catch up on all the sleep I missed the week over my parents' house on Sundays.
Oh gosh.
But it's funny because you brought up something which kind of takes us to the like close before we get to our takeaway. But like a common myth about life being debunked. I think this year has definitely challenged what I thought to be reality or truth. I feel like there's like this confronting of like Jesus being like, what is truth to you? And I'm just like, whoa, that's a lot to ask out of me in 2020, sir. It's a lot.
out, Jesus.
I'm out. Okay. We've had a lot of hard questions. And so like, it's like the truth of what I believe who Jesus is to me. But I think it's also been this, in regards to like womanness and daughterness and all of those things. I think that going back to the worthy thing, or like that I have to be something else or to be more to be loved and seen. And I think that part is
same here.
is what I'm having to like sit in. And it's weird because it should feel like a very liberating, freeing thing. But when you have that tension war in yourself, that's like that lie of like, I'm not quite right enough to have someone love me that much. Maybe a little bit, because I don't love people that to that degree either. And he's like, nah, that's not part of the deal. And so I think that like anything that's linked to my identities this year, there's a lot of debunking happening. Like I don't have to be 4 times better than any other person just because I have dark brown skin or darker skin.
A to the man.
Yeah, I mean that.
I don't have to be 6 times smarter because I have breast and currently have ovaries, you know, like that doesn't, that's not exactly what makes me a woman.
You say currently?
Currently.
Are they going
You know what I
somewhere?
mean? No, I'm just saying, like, we talked about Save the Tatas like off camera.
Oh, I
And,
see.
you know,
Okay, okay, I
because
see. I
have
see.
these
Okay.
accessories of a body.
Gotcha.
Gotcha.
Like that doesn't mean I'm no longer a daughter or a woman to
that's
God,
good.
you know? So like that doesn't mean I have to be, the world would say because I'm a woman, I have to be this much better than a man. And I'm like, that's a lot of work. That's a lot to ask me. I'm already just trying to accept that he loved me. Y'all want me to also try to figure out how to be better than him?
Better than him? Mm-hmm.
I need a time off.
That's true.
Not time off. No, ma'am.
No time off.
Oh my gosh. Okay. We need to close up shop. This has been so good. We might have to do this again.
Absolutely.
Because I mean, hindsight, once we're in the middle of next year, it's gonna be like, wait a minute.
Why does everything feel the same? It's a new year. Yeah.
Same lesson.
Oh my gosh. Good old lessons. All right. So what t-shirt would today be?
I wrote mine down.
Yes.
I said earlier because I was like, ooh, that's a shirt. That is a t-shirt. Find your bliss, sis.
Oh,
I like
that
that
was good when you said that.
Mm-hmm.
I totally agree with that.
I like that.
You know what? I feel like mine would be you, boo, as opposed to do you, boo.
Yeah.
I'm always doing and I can do other things.
Be, baby.
Big.
We are so in sync because I was like, do you, boo? And I'm like, nah, because doing me is what got me in this situation where I'm tired. So no.
Also, which me are you doing? Which version?
Don't do you, do me. Jesus is like, don't do you, do Jesus. Okay. Chill out.
Yes.
Boo. I like it. You gonna keep up the rhyming theme, Nina?
I think it's the hat. You know what I'm saying? I think it's channeling my Run DMC vibe.
Yes.
Yay.
It would either be, can I give it to you? We're gonna work through it.
Yes.
Okay.
It'll
walk it
either
out.
be 2 words, you matter, or ask Jesus. The 2 words.
Can it just go together? You matter,
Yeah.
period. Ask Jesus, period.
Yeah.
Or ask Jesus, period. You matter.
You matter.
Because Jesus will tell you,
This is
You're
true.
right.
will confirm it.
It's true.
I like
Ask
it.
Jesus.
I
You
like
matter.
it.
I like it too.
I like all these. Yes.
Boom, we did it.
Boom, boom.
Well, thank you for
Well,
joining
I
us.
tried to close this out, so I'm gonna pass the mic on that.
Everyone. Yes. So I will end our time together here with me, Candace, Nina, or Denisha, and Rodnisha. Thank you for joining in. Drop your comments, thoughts, suggestions, requests below, and we will hit you back. Love y'all.
Let Nina know if you like her hat. If she should wear it
Yes.
again or get more colors.
More colors.
More colors. More colors.